I'm Tom Hokinson. I am a faculty member here at Red Lake Nation College on the beautiful shores of Red Lake in northern Minnesota. And today we have a guest. We're going to be talking about Honduran culture and its people. And we're very fortunate to have Dr. Miriam Rivera Hokinson, who is Associate Professor of Languages and Indigenous Studies at Bemidji State University with us today.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here to speak about my beautiful country. Thank you for the opportunity of being here today.
First of all, a lot of people have heard of Honduras, but maybe they don't know where it's at. Where exactly is Honduras?
Honduras is in Central America, and it's in southern Mexico. Well, it's Mexico, and then it's Guatemala. And Honduras is part of the Central American countries. We have six countries in there. So it's the country that has like a triangle shape.
Where is that on the globe?
In the globe, if you see Honduras is here in the map here, and this on the screen, you see it here, and you see Guatemala here, and you see El Salvador here, and you see Nicaragua. And if you look here in the globe, it's right here, let me see, it's right here. So it's this little country here, and like I said before, it has like this triangle shape in here.
How many people live in Honduras?
One moment, please. Let me put this back here. How many people live there? Honduras has a population of 10 million versus Minnesota that has 5.6 million. So it's a big population.
Yeah, it's almost double the population.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of size, you know, what would be an equivalent to a U.S. state?
Honduras is the size is most like Tennessee. We can say the state of Tennessee, the size of the state of Tennessee.
And Minnesota is not quite double the size of Tennessee. Mm-hmm. So you have a country that's about half the size of Minnesota, but almost double the mm-hmm. population. So quite a bit more people mm-hmm. there than a place like Minnesota.
More than before when I left my country a while ago.
When did you leave Honduras?
I left Honduras in 1992, and back then it was like 5.5 million. So it has increased a lot since I left.
Yeah, population's gone up quite a bit.
Yes.
So most of the people in Honduras, are they, kind of your ethnic background?
Yeah, most of the people in Honduras are mestizo. Mestizo is a mix of Hispanic, Spaniard heritage, Spanish. Mestizo is a mix of Spaniard and indigenous. So I am a mestizo. A person like me is a mestizo. So 90% of the population look like me. And also we have 7% are indigenous, and 2% are black, and 1% is a mix. We have people that migrated from the Middle East, from different countries like from Asia. We have people from America. We have people from everywhere, like here. It's some kind of small population that is diverse.
I know in the United States we have a lot of different states, Minnesota and Wisconsin and Arizona. Do you have states in your country?
We don't have a states, what we call states, but it's something equivalent to that will be departments. We call them departments. And we have municipalities, which is like a capital, we can say.
Kind of like Washington, D.C.
Yeah, kind of like Washington, D.C., yes.
Yeah. Well, I see we have a map up here. Mm-hmm. Are those the actual departments up
there? Yes. Each one of these that you see in the colors here are departments. Every one of these are departments here. And every dot that you see here are the capital. These ones are the main cities. The main city, that will be like the capital city of the state, we can say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And where are you from?
I am from, this area here is called Olancho. I am from Olancho region, Olancho state, if you can say, if you're in the United States, but this is the department of Olancho. And my city is here, Juticalpa. And Juticalpa, the capital city of Honduras is right here, Tegucigalpa. And by bus will be 3 hours. to make it home. Yeah. So when I go, when I go home, I arrive, by plane. I go to Tegucigalpa, and I take the bus to Juticalpa.
So what's it like? Like, what's the terrain like and the landscape in Honduras?
In Honduras, it's mostly mountains.
Are they great big mountains like Europe with huge peaks?
No, they are not as big as those. They are not like average mountains, not very high, not too big, not humongous. But most of the terrain is, we have a mountain range that runs from east to west. And that's where we have a lot of mountains, but we also have a lower coastal plain, and we have valleys, a lot of valleys.
Where would the coastal plain be on there?
We'll be on the north coast here. We have the north coast here, and which is in the Caribbean Sea, as you can see in there. And this area is very beautiful here. So we have, this is the whole coastline of Honduras that we have here. So it's very tropical, and if we're talking about the weather, it's very tropical. And especially here in San Pedro Sula, it's very humid and sticky. It's like Miami.
Oh, like Miami.
Like Miami, that weather.
Kind of a tropical Caribbean climate in the north.
Yeah.
And then where the capital is that mountainous too?
Yeah, it is very mountainous. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, you had that experience. You remember when we went to Honduras about going in that plane that you told me that was so scary?
Yeah, actually, we are married. We've been married for 28 years. This is my wife. And I had traveled down to Honduras to teach down there, out in Juticalpa. That's how we met. But flying into Tegucigalpa is known as one of the world's most dangerous airports. Yeah. There's actually a mountain, and when planes come in, they bank around this mountain, and then they drop down on a runway, and the runway is pretty short. And there's a cliff at the end of the runway. So if you overshoot the runway, you go off a cliff. And they had that happen 10 years ago?
Yes.
About 10 years ago, they had a big plane go off the end of it.
And crash near a bridge.
Near a bridge, yeah. So, I mean, Tegucigalpa is very different, and it has kind of a cooler climate there. So it's interesting. How are Tegucigalpa and San Pedro Sula different?
Tegucigalpa is very humid, like I said. Tegucigalpa is since it's in the high part, is very high in there. The weather is gonna cool a little bit at night, in the night. While San Pedro Sula is very humid and sticky, muggy, like.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I heard that's interesting about Honduras, a lot of Latin American countries have one capital that's just huge. It dominates the entire country. And that's really not true, is it, with Honduras? I mean, Tegucigalpa doesn't dominate everything because you have San Pedro.
Yeah, San Pedro is actually called the capital city of the country, the industrial city of the country. That's what they call. And it's a lot of factories in there. We have also the banana plantations are in the coastal region by San Pedro Sula, La Ceiba, all that coastal line, and there Tela. So, like in here, like from Puerto Castilla, all of this area here is there are banana plantations. Tropical fruits grow really well there. We have productions of pineapples and the bananas. If you go to Lucas here or marketplace, any grocery store practically that you go here and other parts of the country also, you will see the plantains or pineapples or bananas will have the name Adol, Chiquita Banana, and it says Republic of Honduras. It's very interesting to find that.
I know when we're looking for bananas, we're always looking to see which country, if they're from Colombia or Costa Rica or Honduras. We always buy the Honduran ones. They also, I've heard, grow coffee in Honduras. It's not as big here, but sometimes you'll see it. I saw one the other day at a Lucan store here that said that it was from Honduras. Where would coffee grow? in the country?
Coffee is in the mountainous area. Sometimes we have it here, like in Copan, they have areas here where they grow coffee. In Rancho, they do some coffee productions also in the mountains. It's in the mountain regions that they have coffee.
And you said Copan. I think I've heard of that before. Why is Copan famous?
Copan is famous because it was a huge civilization, the Mayan Empire. The Mayan Empire was actually extended from Mexico to Guatemala and then Honduras. All the whole area was the Mayan Empire, and this was a great civilization that it was amazing. It developed. Well, it's a long history to tell, but the Mayans were astronomers. It's just rich civilization that we had.
What's at Copan?
Copan?
What is there?
Copan, you can see the ruins of Copan. You're gonna see their temples, Mayan temples. So, they have done some excavations and they have found written symbols in it that means a lot to the legends and history of the Mayans. And if you get to go to those sites, it will be nice to visit it, the Mayan civilization where it was settled. It's just amazing to go to those places.
So the Mayan civilization only went in part of Honduras. What were the other groups? I mean, was it Lincoln, the other kind of groups throughout Honduras, or?
Well, those are ethnic groups that we have in Honduras: the Lencas, the Chicaques, the Pech, and those are different little groups that we have in Honduras, indigenous groups.
Can you tell me a little bit about your department, the Department of Olancho?
The Department of Olancho, like I said before, is this one here, is this whole area here, okay? And believe it or not, this whole area is bigger than the country of El Salvador that is here. But all the people of the country of El Salvador fit here, and even we still have room for more. So Olancho is an area where we have a lot of agricultural people grow a lot of grains, and we have a lot of corn and like beans, and also a lot of cows. We have a lot of cattle ranching. It's like culturally, it's very interesting because culturally it's like the state of Texas. Yeah, it's like a cattle ranching area, and you see guys, with hats and cowboy looking with boots and everything like that. And the attitude also of the people there, it's like Texan, don't mess with Texas, don't mess with me. I'm Olanchana, so we have the attitude.
Yeah, I had heard that when I went down there, and in fact, I had read that in terms of like a comparison to Texas, that Olancho was actually its own country, or trying to be its own country, just like Texas was, for a couple of years before the Mexican-American War.
Yeah, we have a history of that, yeah.
So, that's what I noticed when I was down there. When you go out into Olancho, there's kind of it's not a separate country, but it's kind of its own area with its own distinct people.
Yeah, well, we have, the bad reputation of being like, don't mess with me, but we are nice people too. On the other hand, we are nice people. I am a nice person. I am very friendly, nice, but the thing is that culturally we take care of each other, we take care of our people. We are proud, we have our own identity, we just don't like to have somebody outside and come and be messing around our place, But even with the COVID, when the COVID came, we had people guarding the border, from people coming from Tegucigalpa. They were, doing that, like that, testing the temperature, and even the ex-presidents were there with guarding the border and saying, you're not coming here because we're protecting our or city or Department of Lancho. We don't want COVID here, so
Yeah, well, you see that a lot. I
it's
mean,
we are very protected about people.
well, it's like up here in Red Lake Nation, you had people at the border of the reservation up here making sure that people weren't coming in that weren't supposed to be here.
Exactly.
Yeah, very similar. I see a lot of similarities
Yes.
in a lot of these different issues.
And we have a saying that says, Olancho es ancho para entrar and angosto para salir. That means that Olancho is wide to get in, but it's I said narrow to get out. That means that we take you, you know, we embrace you, you come, we hug you, you get in, but and you feel like very comfortable that you don't want to leave our cities in Olancho because we treat you well. But like I said, we have that side that don't mess with us.
Yeah. In terms of tourists going down there, I know we've talked a little bit about Copan already, and you have people who go down and see the ruins in Copan, but I've heard a lot of tourists actually go to the Bay Islands. Where are the Bay Islands on here?
Yes, the Bay Islands are right here, and this is in the Caribbean. You see the Caribbean here, and this is a destination. A lot of cruise. A lot of people that go in cruises stop in Roatan. Most of the people know what Roatan is because it's a destination. So people that go in a cruise in the Caribbean, they stop in Roatan. I had some students that say, "Oh, where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Honduras." "Oh, I've been in Honduras." I said, "Where?" In Roatan. Most of them say Roatan. They know what Roatan is. So it's a very touristic spot in there. And it's not just Roatan, also Utila and also Guanaja. These three islands, Guanaja, Roatan, and Utila are the Bay Islands. So very pretty, very touristic. And another thing about Roatan is that we have the coral reef barrier. Is a huge one, and it's the second best in the world for scuba diving.
I had heard that next to the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, this is the #2 place in the world to go diving for people who are interested in scuba diving and doing that. Would you say that the Bay Islands are like typical of the rest of Honduras, or is it kind of more rich?
It's more rich, of course.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It's more rich and it's more touristic. It's more like safe because you know a lot of people they need business, you know, and you're safe if you go there because they want tourists to visit there.
Yeah, it sounds like a place like Cancun or some of these places in Mexico where you may have that general level of violence throughout the country that comes from poverty. Honduras has traditionally been listed as one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere. Haiti is usually listed as worse, but Honduras is usually, the main part of Honduras, pretty poor. You know, and with this increasing population, I know that when we had gone down for Americans, there's you have to be careful because there's a lot of people who are poor and there's a chance of getting robbed in a lot of the country, especially in the capital. You kind of got to know what you're doing.
Yeah, but not all of Honduras is poor. You know, we have areas, you know, like any other bigger cities, you know, like if you go to New York also, you know, or if you go, you know, we have poor people, but it's not like, Honduras is so poor that they don't even know what is a TV. Yes, you know, some people have that perception, you know, they say, "Oh, Honduras is the second poorest city in Latin America." Yeah, but it's not, it's like in any other country, you know, that have the poor people and the rich people and the middle class people. But some people sometimes when they heard that term, that we are the poorest, is they go to the extreme, like we don't listen to the radio, we don't watch TV, we don't.
Yeah, I was surprised when I went down to Honduras. You have this image that's been cultivated in the United States of that, and it was kind of like feed the children. If you've ever seen those commercials where you have a real poor child who's kind of dirty, and then the please mate, she doesn't have food. Could you please give 50 cents a day to help feed the children. And so you get this image of Honduras that everybody's poor, which is not true at all. When I went down and I was out in Olancho, I turn on the TV and the Vikings games were on all the time. I watch the Minnesota Vikings and actually I was there in '91 when the Twins won the World Series.
Yeah.
And I watched the Minnesota Twins almost every single day. I was down.
And some people were wearing the shirts too.
Yeah. There's a lot of fans. What's interesting, when we met, we share similarities in our taste in music. I was surprised that she was, some of the hits from the '80s would come on and she'd be singing along with Loverboy and some of these other ones. And I was like, Duran, yeah. And why, where would you get that? Where would you get that music from? Where did it come from?
Radio stations in Honduras, yeah.
Was that coming out of the capital?
Out of the capital city, and my hometown also had Radio Juticalpa, was one of the best with music.
Yeah. What's kind of interesting is these songs are all in English, but the main language of the country is what?
The main language is Spanish, but we have bilingual schools also, and a lot of people speak also English. And we have other population that are we don't call them African Americans. They are black, and they come from. It's a long history. They settled in Honduras in the 1500s. Was in the 1700s, yeah. This group is called the Garífunas, the Garinagu, and they speak Garifuna is the language. It's a different language, and the interesting thing about this group of black people, they speak three languages. They not only speak Garinagu, they speak Spanish and they speak English.
They speak English.
Because the Garinagu were under control of the British in St. Vincent Island in the 1700s. And when they rebelled, the British, they were sent to the islands. So they worked there and they thought they were going to escape. But no, they escaped and they came to the North Coast. And they settled right here. Punta Castilla, Puerto Castilla, Trujillo, all of this area here. And then they are all over the coast of the Caribbean. Belize, all Honduras, all Nicaragua, all over here. And in the United States, they migrated to the United States. And they are in New Orleans. A lot of them are in New Orleans. Some are in Chicago. In New York.
New York too. Yeah. So just another immigrant group, and they have that advantage of speaking English, which a lot of people don't.
And it's very interesting too because they have English last names like Williams, like Anderson. Yeah, the name is very popular. You find people with Carlos Anderson, and it's like different because they have the heritage, they have the British heritage.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about climate. Right now it's fall here in Minnesota, and the leaves have turned already in northern Minnesota here, and it's cooling off. What's the climate like in Honduras? Do you have like fall where leaves change and the trees change and the leaves fall off, or how does it work in Honduras?
We don't have those. I never got to see the seasons that I see here. Here, the beauty of living in Minnesota is that you see the 4 seasons, and it's something that I am amazed by it, and it's something that I really enjoy. I don't like winter though, but because
who does?
I don't like winter, but I love fall. This is my favorite season right now. In Honduras, we only have 2 seasons. We have the dry season that is from November to April, and we have the wet season that goes from May to October.
Also, just kind of transition.
We only have 2. Yeah, we only see 2. We see rain or we see a lot of sun. Yeah.
And it's pretty warm all the time. Yeah,
it's pretty warm. All the time it's warm. Yeah. Yeah, the average temperature is 77 Fahrenheit and sometimes 86 Fahrenheit.
And I remember it got pretty warm in like April, like March or April. Yeah. It was really warm down there.
Very, very hot. April, especially by Easter is very hot. That's why people go to the rivers and swim. and it's nice for family to gather. And yeah, we have breaks during the Semana Santa. Semana Santa is Easter. The whole week is a week off for schools and colleges, so people can enjoy, families can enjoy with their children, go to things.
Yeah, I remember when I was in Honduras, I taught second grade down there, and a lot of the books that we used at the bilingual school I was teaching at came from here. And so we'd have a book and it would talk about fall, and they'd show the leaves changing colors. And I would tell my class, I'd say, in the fall where I'm from, the leaves turn red and yellow and orange, and then they all fall off the trees. And my class is like, please don't lie to us. And I'm like, I'm not lying. It's true. It sounds strange if you're not from here.
I would have said that to you too, because I had that perception when I was little. I used to paint all the trees in green. I never thought that trees were different colors. Never. And also, when I used to watch movies, the movies, that come from Hollywood, they show the beautiful seasons and everything, and I say, how can that be? That's probably something, a background that they put in the movies. Because I didn't have that concept. And I used to see kids and, people with warm coats, and it was sunny, and I said, how can these people are wearing a warm coat and it's sunny outside? When I was little, I never got that. Why are they doing that?
Yeah, it's strange living up here in Minnesota, how the culture is different. We have a friend of ours who's Honduran who, when he was up here, I took him ice fishing. And so we drove out onto a lake, and I know that was very shocking to him that we could actually drive a car out onto a lake and go fishing.
Yeah.
So, and I know the same experience when I brought her ice fishing.
I remember the experience that I had when you took me the first time to ice fishing. We were in this little house, and it was heated. We had a heater, and we had our first son, Matthew, was only 7 months old. And I was afraid to bring the baby in the house because I saw the heater and I saw the ice below, and I said, oh my goodness, the heater is on, it's melting, it's gonna melt, and what's gonna happen by morning? I'm gonna be under the water. And I was so afraid that I hardly slept the night that we were. It was like a nightmare for me the first time I went in a house ice fishing. I don't like that experience again. I don't know.
Yeah, the culture is very different.
Yeah.
I know when you talk about Honduras, you really think about like the Spanish heritage, in terms of cities and things like that. And isn't the Catholic Church historically has been really involved in Latin American civilization?
Yeah. The church and the state are together. It's not a separation of church and state. In terms of the structures of the city, we had a big plaza, and we had a big Catholic church in front of the plaza. And then we had the government, the building of the government. Then we had probably the postal office, main offices, government offices, the municipalities, the city hall on the other side. So it's a structure like the Spaniard, structure.
Yeah, we'd study that in my classes where you can tell if it's a Spanish city because it's all organized around that central park or that plaza in the middle.
And it's where everybody gathers, like if it's a manifestation, that's what they go. If it's a celebration of the country, like the Independence Day, they go to celebrate there.
And it's it doesn't matter the size of the town. So a little town will have a little park in the middle of it, and the same church on one side and the government building on the other. And then if it's a bigger one, it's bigger. And if it's the capital, it's a huge one. It's kind of the same pattern.
It's just like any place in any country in Latin America that you go, you're going to find exactly the same pattern because we were conquered by the Spaniards. And that's how the settlement was done.
How many people are Catholic now? Like a ballpark figure.
Well, it was in the past. I think after the 80s, people started getting more into becoming Protestant. Right now, more than half of the population is Catholic, but a large percentage, I can say like roughly about 36% are Protestant. Yeah.
And evangelical.
Evangelical is
and
like a Pentecostal.
and
Yeah.
Pentecostal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was down there, also very visible, not in huge numbers, were Mormons. There were quite a few people
A lot of
from
Mormons.
Church
Yeah.
of Latter-day Saints.
And yeah, that one too. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit. We have Indigenous Day coming up. In terms of the indigenous population there, what is the interaction? You said they're not a real big percentage of the population now down there.
Yeah.
What has it been like for them, and what are they fighting for these days?
Well, like any indigenous group in Latin America, and actually here too, the main issue there is land. Land is part of the fighting all the time. That they need land to survive. They need land to produce. They want to produce their own crops. Land is always an issue.